One of the weirdest phenomena in the true crime world is consensual homicide. This is where the victim openly consents and asks to be murdered. While consent is taken into consideration by law enforcement, most people are charged with manslaughter or assisted suicide instead of murder. Here are 5 cases of people who consented to be killed. Number 5. On April 26, 2012, 22-year-old Vancouver resident Tichina Rae Sutherland was stabbed 41 times by her best friend, 25-year-old Jessica Hanley. On the evening before her death, Tichina had been partying with Jessica and Jessica's boyfriend. Jessica's boyfriend testified that he bought half a gram of cocaine for Sutherland to consume. On the day before her death, Tichina had recorded a voice message on her iPod Touch apologizing to her family, asking them to remember her and to look to the sky when they're sad, as she'll always be watching over them. On the evening in question, Tichina, who was under the influence of alcohol and cocaine, entered a suicide pact with her best friend Jessica. She asked Jessica if she would kill her and then kill herself when Jessica said no, though. Tichina was very upset and told her that she had wimped out. For reasons unknown, Jessica grabbed a large knife and stabbed Tichina 41 times. Jessica told officers, "I just stabbed her with the big knife. I don't know why." Just minutes after her best friend was dead, Jessica texted a few friends asking them which were the best chemicals to get blood out of a wooden floor. She also said, "I just killed her. I just said goodbye to my sister." Jessica was sentenced to 10 years in prison for her involvement in the death of her best friend. The judge commented, "Hanley killed Sutherland at her request. No sentence can turn back the clock. Hanley has to live with the horribly wrong and profound misguided act, taking the life of someone that she regarded as a soul sister." Number 4. 31-year-old Graham Glick Feld was a social outcast for all of his life. He suffered from Tourette's syndrome, which saw him being taunted and bullied by classmates. His adult life wasn't any easier. He was unable to hold down a job and had never had a girlfriend. Graham was very depressed and distressed with his quality of life. His friends said that he was frightened that they would all abandon him due to his condition, leaving him to fend for himself. His friend Madison Gore said Graham was in a habit of asking all of us to end his life. He even offered us $200 to do it. All of Graham's friends declined to offer to kill him. That was until he met 27-year-old Daniel at a local college in Fremont, California. At this college, Graham was free to explore his love of the performing arts, and it was a place where he could be himself without judgment from the outside world. What should have been a happy friendship between the two soon turned into something much darker. On the evening of December 22, 1989, Graham and Michael were attending a Christmas party with other theater members in Fremont, California. By all accounts, the party was going well, with everyone drinking and celebrating each other's company. Towards the end of the evening, Michael and Graham left together in Michael's car, and that was the last time that Graham was ever seen alive. According to Michael, Graham gave him $200 and told him to run over him. He said, "It's like he dared me to do it." Michael instructed Graham to lay down on the ground in front of his car. Graham was stunned, and as no one had ever gone through with it before, he did just as he was instructed, thinking it was all a joke. The killing of Graham Glick Feld has been described as a mercy killing and a murder to hire. Soon after the crime had taken place, Michael turned himself into police and told them everything. For his involvement in the death of Graham, Michael was charged with first-degree murder. However, no information about his trial can be found online. Number 3. Chelsea Martinez was a young mother of 3 living in Columbus, Ohio. She had married her high school sweetheart, Oscar Martinez, aged just 20 in 2009, and the couple seemed to be living the perfect, happy life. This was far from the truth, and Chelsea had struggled since her teenage years with depression and thoughts of ending her life. These thoughts followed her around everywhere that she went. She took impromptu trips to Las Vegas or California, hoping she would find the answers she was looking for in another city. Chelsea mainly lived life as a single parent, as the marriage between the couple was rocky at best. With her husband working the night shift, she was left to do everything around the house and fend for the children. On August 1st, 2015, Chelsea was reported missing by her husband Oscar. Thinking that she had just gone on one of her impromptu road trips, he filed the police report and waited for his wife to return home, only she never would return home again. When searching through the family computer for any clues as to where his wife may have gone, Oscar found that she'd been spending a lot of time on the website called The Experience Project. This website was shut down in 2016, but according to online resources, it was a social media website where people could connect based on life experiences. This would be the place that she met a man whose screen name was Dark Rider. Initially, the conversation was centered around the pair's love for everything dark and mysterious, chatting about vampires and their love for the book Twilight. As the days went on, the two grew closer, speaking almost every day through the Experience Project. At some point along the way, the conversation turned to suicide, with Chelsea confiding in Dark Rider that she wanted to commit suicide but didn't know if she could go through with it herself. That's when he made a detailed plan of how he would kill her, with Chelsea thanking him for putting her mind at ease. Chelsea made the 700-mile, 11.5-hour drive from her Columbus, Ohio home to Faribault, Minnesota, where she would meet up with the mysterious stranger she knew only as Dark Rider. It turns out that Dark Rider was 39-year-old Jason Nisbet, who had agreed to kill Chelsea as she was too scared to do it on her own. On July 31st, 2015, the pair met in a motel near Cannon Lake, where Jason had strangled Chelsea with a cord before cutting her throat with a 10-inch knife. After he had killed her, he dumped her body in a wooded area and covered her in mud and dirt. For his involvement in the death of Chelsea Martinez, Jason pled guilty and was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Chelsea left one message online to her children, reading, "I'm sorry I couldn't hold on to you any longer." Number 2. Sharon Lopaka was known online as an advertising entrepreneur from Hampstead, Maryland. In 1995, she'd set up her business advertising home design and interior guides online. This would prove to be fruitful for Sharon, as people wanted to emulate the beauty and extravagant homes in New England for themselves. This wasn't the only service she was offering online. Sharon was involved in the fetish scene and would use many different aliases and personas to pursue frequent BDSM chat rooms and distribute disturbing pornographic material. One message read, "Hi, my name is Gina. I was wondering if anyone out there would want to talk about the subject mentioned above me. It's somewhat of a fascination with torturing until death. Of course, I can't speak about it with my friends or family. I'd love to have an email exchange with someone." In 1996, while in a BDSM chat room, she met computer analyst Robert Glass. The pair would exchange extremely graphic messages about their sexual desires and torture. In their investigation, police found 900 pages of emails between Glass and Lopaka detailing their extreme fetishes and torturous fantasies. On October 13, 1996, Sharon left her Maryland home, headed for North Carolina. She told her husband she was going to a meetup with some friends in Georgia and that she would be back soon. She left him a disturbing note instructing him to not track down Robert Glass, with the second part reading, "If my body is ever retrieved, don't worry. Know that I'm at peace." Incredibly worried about the well-being of his wife, her husband immediately phoned police, who began the manhunt for Robert Glass. When they arrived at his secluded trailer in North Carolina, they were far too late. Sharon had been strangled and tortured to death just as she had instructed. Robert told police, "I don't know how much I pulled the rope. I never wanted to kill her, but she ended up dead." Sharon was buried in the woods behind Glass's trailer, and as Glass never confessed, it's likely she may never have been found. Police also found her belongings, drug paraphernalia, a magnum pistol, and inappropriate pornographic material of minors. The US was left shaken following the bizarre tortured death of Sharon Lopaka. No one had ever seen anything like this before, and society was exposed to the dark underbelly of the internet. Robert Glass was sentenced in January of 2000 to 36 to 53 months for voluntary manslaughter and sexual exploitation. In addition to this, he was sentenced to 27 months for second-degree minor exploitation. Glass passed away in February of 2002 from a heart attack. Number 1. Possibly the most famous case of cannibalism and consensual murder is so well known that the German industrial metal band Rammstein even wrote a song about it. A man named Armin worked in Germany as a computer repair technician. He frequented online chat forums called the Cannibal Cafe. While this website has now been shut down, many websites like it still exist on the dark web. The Cannibal Cafe was a place where people with fetishes of being eaten or eating another person could chat and discuss their fantasies. Armin had posted different adverts on the website before, but was displeased when those who responded backed out when they realized that Armin was serious about it and it wasn't just a crude joke. His advertisements read, "Looking for a well-built 18 to 30-year-old to be slaughtered then consumed." In March of 2002, an engineer named Bernd Brandes answered the post and became the victim that Armin was looking for. The pair agreed to meet at Armin's home on March 9, 2001, and from there on out, the details of what happened next are horrific. Upon arriving, Bernd consumed 20 sleeping pills and a whole bottle of cough medicine to numb the pain of what was coming next. Armin began to cut off Bernd's body parts and cooked them in a pan with salt, pepper, wine, and garlic. Disappointed that the meat had burned so quickly and was too chewy to eat, he fed it to his dog instead. At this point, Bernd had lost a lot of blood and was very weak. Armin moved him into his bathtub and read him a book while he drifted in and out of consciousness. It was at this point that Armin took his life. But that wasn't enough. Once he had passed away, he hung him up on a meat hook and carved pieces of his body for the next few months and ate them gradually. This was only the tip of the iceberg though. Some of the scenes that played out were far beyond anything we could ever mention in one of these videos. Imagining one human carrying out these acts onto another human is absolutely unspeakable, and while we wish we could give you the details of this case, it's definitely not worth it, and consider yourself lucky for not having learned them. Police were only alerted to the crime when they were tipped off by a German student about his online activity on the Cannibal Cafe. Upon searching his home, they found remains, along with 4-hour-long videotapes that the pair had made, and this tape had never been released to the public. At first, Armin was only sentenced to 8 years and 6 months for the manslaughter of Bernd. After public backlash and outcry, he was retried in 2005. The second trial found that he'd killed for sexual gratification and was still suffering from fantasies of cannibalism. Armin himself commented, "I had the fantasy, and in the end, I fulfilled it. The fantasy first developed between the ages of 8 and 12, and my father would ignore me, and I longed for a good-looking brother who I could be with forever by consuming his flesh." As of May 2006, Armin is serving a life sentence for the murder and cannibalization of Bernd Brandes. Interestingly, Armin is now a strict vegetarian in prison and estimates that there are 800 cannibals in Germany alone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.